This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth. And as you can tell by the title of this video, guys, today we're going to be talking about censorship in the age of this COVID-19 84 nightmare. Now, viewers of this channel will be well aware that over the last few years, I've been dealing with censorship quite a bit. You may know I had my YouTube channel back in 2020 when the pandemic was launched, completely terminated with no warning, no strikes, nothing like that. They just took it away at the blink of an eye. I miraculously somehow got that back 7 months later, but I'm still very heavily on the chopping block, very heavily shadow banned. They took down my Press for Truth Twitter account, which had over 20,000 followers, just poof, in the blink of an eye, gone. My Press for Truth Facebook page with nearly 400,000 followers was just poof, taken away from me at the snap of a finger. I had my MailChimp account, which had all my newsletter subscribers taken away from me just at the blink of an eye. And while all this was happening, I was aware of this, what was taking place behind the scenes. So I started to hedge myself against this censorship by joining various platforms that don't censor, and they're highly decentralized. And I joined all the regulars, you know, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, Minds, there's others. But there's one in particular that really stood out for me because of the nature of their decentralization and the inability for the powers that ought not to be able to take it down. And that is very exciting to me. And of course, today I'm talking about Bastion, and joining me on the line right now is the creator of Bastion, Daniel Sachkov. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me here once again on Press for Truth. Now, the last time we spoke was almost 3 years ago now, and this was back when the company was called PocketNet. So since then, you've rebranded into Bastion, and I'm sure there's been a lot of developments with the tech over the last few years. So I want to get into how this technology works and how it's possible that the powers that ought not to be are not going to be able to shut it down. That's so exciting. But before we get into that, maybe we could talk about simply just the need for something like Bastion in this current COVID-19 84 nightmare. I mean, what sort of things have you seen over the last couple of years that would solidify it in your mind that Bastion's time has come?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here again. When we spoke last time, this was really the very beginning. It was very, very beta, early idea. And the idea originally seemed very far-fetched and even paranoid to some people. The idea of a social network that, first of all, it's not a company, it's not corporate, right? So it's non-corporate social network. That right there differentiates it. But also fully decentralized in the mode of Bitcoin, right? The strength of Bitcoin is decentralization, and people ask, you know, what exactly does that mean? Is any crypto decentralized? And no, we'll talk about that, right? Not every crypto decentralized, but we built Bastion very much decentralized. So what I'm seeing right now is that the possibility of a type of censorship which Bastion was built to prevent is becoming more likely by the day. So our idea, you know, 4 years ago, more than 4 years ago when we started building this, was that the censorship will ramp up, right? It's not going to be limited to banning channels. Like your channel was one of the first ones because you obviously are onto something, right? So you were banned very early on, but now lots of people have been banned. There's not a day that goes by without somebody being banned of this or the other social media. In parallel, there's another movement where alternative sites are created constantly, right? We get the new social networks. This social network is launched, that one, and that brand themselves as freedom-oriented, free speech type social networks. And I think that's a very healthy trend, right? That's a free market trying to solve this problem. But at the same time, we should understand the weakness. What is the weakness of social platforms? And this weakness is not specific to Facebook or YouTube or some other platform. So I believe there are three types of weaknesses that they have. One is the corporate entity. When you have a corporate entity in today's world, there are a million ways to bring it to heel. Legal, you know, semi-legal, whatever. So when you have a corporate entity, when you're a corporation, you're out there for a profit, and you register a corporation for profit. Yes, you can make some money. There are the advantages to that, right? There are advantages that you can raise money, for example. Raising money is kind of more or less for corporations. But there's a big downside. A corporation can be brought down. And we've seen this before when, for example, WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is a messaging app that was very privacy oriented at the beginning, very strong. The creator of it was very much like a privacy geek, if I may say so. But in the end, it was sold. It was bought for $19 million, not even that much by today's standards, I guess. But there's no corporation in the world that can turn down this kind of money because it has shareholders, it has stakeholders. That's a popular term now. Those are the people that will drive it to sell at the right moment. So if you launch a corporation that is freedom oriented, it becomes very, very successful. It is hard to defend. Not that it's impossible to defend. I mean, there are good platforms. It depends on the management, depends on the ownership, but ultimately, my opinion, the opinion of people who started Bastion, is that it is a futile effort. If you're a corporate entity, when you get strong enough, you will be shut down. The second problem that happens is actually centralization of computing power. People don't realize this, but this is a very important problem. Social networking, particularly video, but not just video, requires very high bandwidth. It requires powerful servers. These are not they're not typical types of machines. And what you find out around the world is that it is very hard to rent powerful servers now. The companies that do that have mostly been bought up. In the States, we know one big company that has bought almost everybody up in that space. Almost everybody goes there to host. And around the world, there are many others. So imagine a situation where you're saying something that is not acceptable to the corporate community, right? And what are they going to do? Well, we don't have to imagine it. We actually saw it. That was Parler. Parler was #1 downloaded app. It was a freedom-oriented corporate, but freedom-oriented app, according to everything. It was obviously kind of for freedom. What happened when there was no success bringing it down through the corporate entity? What happened? The servers were shut down. It was literally happened overnight, and the app was dead. I mean, if you turn off a social network for a month, that's a serious blow. This is almost like a death blow. And we know that even though Parler recovered, but I don't think it's as freedom oriented as it used to be. I don't know about it, but I don't believe so. So they've learned their lesson, and it was basically crippled, I think, to a large degree through that. Right. The third centralization that will kill centralized projects is financial centralization. And so that means that relying on a legacy banking system. When you're a corporation, even if you're not a corporate, let's say you're not a corporation, but you're centralized in that you're relying on a legacy banking system, you can be brought to heel very easily. What happens is your bank account can be closed, your PayPal can be closed, whatever. So it's very, very easy. There's no need for kind of a gulag style repression. It's just easy. You just you cut off finances, and what's going to happen? You need to pay for servers, you need to pay for developers, you need to do all these other things, and all of a sudden this entity is dead. So 3 parts of centralization, those 3 things, if you look at any social network, and there are some popular ones now, they're inevitable. So it's only a matter of time. Remember, there was a time when Twitter, according to Jack Dorsey, was the free speech wing of the free speech party.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that he believed that when he said it. I don't think he was lying at the time. But the problem is those 3 factors I told you, they will drive any entity to giving up freedom. And ultimately, before Jack Dorsey, I mean, now Twitter is like in shambles, but even before he left, it wasn't a free place, right?
Yeah.
So the whole idea when we looked at this 4 years ago, being like, I'm a mathematician. For me, this is not a corporate project. It was interesting for me. How do we solve these 3 problems? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the solution lies with Bitcoin. The only platform that was able to solve at least some of these problems is Bitcoin. The first problem that it solves is centralization of servers, right? Bitcoin has no need to rent servers from Amazon or whomever, Microsoft or whomever. Bitcoin really lives on computers around the world.
Well,
so anybody can run a Bitcoin node.
I think there's somebody out there right now who's a perfect example of being in need of everything that you've been talking about and nailing all 3 points. And sorry to interrupt or interject, but this man comes to mind, and regardless of what you think of him, is irrelevant at this stage in the game. And I'm talking about Alex Jones. There was a certain target on that man when he was taken down from YouTube, taken down from Twitter, taken down from Facebook, taken down from Apple, taken down from iTunes, you name it. They pushed him into the back corner of the internet. So what did he do? he focused on his own website. He said, fine, at least I have my little corner of the internet where people can still find me at Infowars.com. And what you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that one day they're going to get to the point where they just shut down his website as well. And
That
maybe,
is exactly right. That's exactly the next stage, actually. So right now, if I understand correctly what's going on, they're at the stage of the financial part. So through the finances, and I don't follow exactly what's going on with Infowars, but through the finances, I think they're putting pressure on the financial part. But ultimately, and that's the, like I talked about, three parts, but there's a fourth part that's right behind, that's breathing down our neck, and that is the whole internet, the website domain DNS resolution. So we know that the world, there's a so-called DNS resolution where if you enter a website, Infowars.com, it actually has to go to some IP address, and there's somewhere some servers that point to a particular IP address. We also know that DNS has been highly centralized over the last decade. So that means that any website can be shut down. And what's going to happen is, think about it right now. Twitter is banning people, Facebook is banning people, and at some point they're losing control. There are so many different entities that come up. People still get their information, right? There's still Telegram. Telegram didn't get to. They're going to get this repression, but so far they seem to be, somewhat alive. Though they're starting to censor people. That's what I'm told as well. But the domain blocking is the elephant in the room that we're not seeing. So the Bastion was built to address the first three parts, but also the fourth part, and that's the domain blocking. I firmly believe, and I'm a math geek. I've done a lot of scientific work in risk management. I've done work in machine learning. So I'm actually more like a scientist and a math geek. As a risk manager, I firmly believe that the next phase inevitable for the censorship, either the censors have to give up. They have to say, you know what, we lost control. We just give up, which I think is, hard to believe at this point that they will. But the next step will be to say, use there's going to be some kind of event. Who knows what it will be, but it will introduce this idea that, not all the websites should work. And I don't think, then the question becomes, what if the whole internet is shut down? Well, I don't think it's tenable in today's world to shut down completely the internet connections, because there's so many different things that could go wrong, and everybody relies on them, also the corporate entities and so on. So I think what's going to happen very likely is that some domains will be blocked, and it's not going to be very specific, like just this one or that one. There will be maybe a whole sections of internet that are not working. Or, for example, it could be reversed and say, we only have the green pass of domains. Only the green pass of domains are resolving. The rest, you have to look for them with the IP address. And who's going to do that? Who's going to type in the IP? Only a fraction of people,
Yeah. Now, you've often described Bastion as being comparable to Bitcoin in the sense of it not being able to being taken down, because I'm sure my audience understands that Bitcoin doesn't have a centralized headquarters. There is no company. There is no building. There's nowhere you can go to just take it down. It exists on individual nodes that are built all over the world that run the blockchain, and you'd have to take down simultaneously every single one of these nodes in order to be able to wipe out the blockchain, and that seems relatively impossible. So maybe you could explain the tech behind Bastion, which makes it comparable to Bitcoin in the sense that it operates on individual nodes. So even if they take down Bastion.com, people will still be able to access my daily videos. Can you explain how that's going to work?
Exactly. So first of all, the first point is very literal. Bastion resides on top of the Bitcoin code. One of the benefits of being a non-corporate entity is that you can have open source code base, and anybody can fork it or clone it. And not everybody likes that, right? Maybe, let's say, not everybody in the Bitcoin community loves people cloning Bitcoin. But we cloned it not because, and legally it's allowed because it's distributed under MIT license. We cloned it not because we want to create an alternative to Bitcoin. That's foolish. I think Bitcoin is it. It's the only one. We took Bitcoin core as the core of the platform, and then we built on top of it. So the main premise of our platform was that there's not going to be any centralized server. That means that any computer that supports the network is, first of all, equal. They're all equal. This is very important because in some cryptocurrencies, watch out, they're not all equal. There are some master nodes or some senior nodes. Once you see that, you know that you're dealing with a kind of digital bank that's more like a legacy banking system. So Bastion is built on top of these Bitcoin nodes. Well, obviously, we have to rewrite a lot of it. And I mean, thankfully, as an aside, there's many people, developers are joined over the years. And I'm going to invite, if you do C++, if you do JavaScript, you're interested, please email support@bastion.com and join the project. But
Well,
the way
perhaps,
we build it is that, yeah.
well, I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say, perhaps we should have mentioned from the beginning that, in case anybody's still wondering, what exactly is it? Essentially, it's a social network, right, where people can share the pictures, posts, videos, whatever they
Yeah.
want, similar to something like a Facebook or whatever, where they can connect with people and share information, right?
Yeah, exactly. The big difference with I mean, it is similar to Facebook really in many ways in the functionality, but there are unique things. But the big thing is that we don't require any personal info. So just like on Bitcoin, you can use it without divulging your phone number, without divulging your email. And you know, this is a problem, right? Even well-meaning social networks, they can be hacked. Your personal info can be leaked. In the case of Bastion, when you register, we don't even have access to your account. You have your private keys, and only you control them. The flip side of it is that if you lose your private key, then you know we can recover it for you. There's no support department. You like it's like Bitcoin. If you lose your private keys, you can email, you know, hey Bitcoin, help me.
Hmm.
So that is important. The Bastion infrastructure is built the exact same way as Bitcoin. Anybody can run a node. By running a node, you can earn some coins, right? There's Pocket Coin. This is very important part of the platform. It's used to compensate the node operators. It's also used to compensate bloggers and kind of all the ecosystem participants. So we have regular nodes, which basically contain all of the blockchain data. They also contain all of the textual posts. And then we have separate kinds of called video nodes that contain all the videos and they contain all the images, but they also run in a very similar way. Anybody, let's say you, Dan, you know, you can spin up a node, and if you have a really, you know, good bandwidth and you want to help the network and earn some pocket coin, you can spin up a node and host videos. You will have control. There's some videos you don't like, you don't host them. That's really important. If you have coins, you can run a node, a regular kind of a crypto node. The difference of Bastion is that unlike Bitcoin, which is a mining proof of work type of algorithm, Bastion is a proof of stake algorithm. That means that to run a node, if you put in some pocket coin in it, you actually make pocket coin. So you help the network and you make money. And this is very important. You see, you have to solve the financial incentive problem because all of the well-meaning decentralized projects, they have this thing called tragedy of the commons, that people, when they encounter a free open thing, they take more than they give. So there's got to be a way for these servers to pay for electricity, to pay for bandwidth, to pay for hardware. And that is why the Pocket Coin, the internal token of the system, pays for that. So it's like Bitcoin of Bastion. So
Right.
anybody can run a node, they're equal. And what happens when, you know, there's Bastion.com, right? There is a domain where you go and you can use it through the domain and so on. And obviously, if the domains are blocked, Bastion.com will be blocked. So Bastion.com is also a DNS type of thing, but we have a desktop app. When you log on to Bastion, we'll remind you there is a desktop app that you can download to your PC, Windows or Linux or Mac. Now that desktop app has no connection to the website. It speaks directly to the nodes in the world. So let's say you're in Canada and for whatever reason Bastion.com doesn't work. Well, why don't you connect to a node in Vietnam? You know, there actually are amazingly nodes in Vietnam and South Africa and in Africa and in France and in Russia now. And there's lots of places in the world. So as long as some of them are running, it doesn't matter that Bastion.com is down. And that's sort of the scenario that where we believe everyone should be prepared. So if you're a user of the social networks, you sign up to Bastion.com. Even if you use others, in case there's domain problems, you'll go to the desktop app and it will work. If you're a blogger, think about it this way. Let's say you're on Instagram or whatever, and then Instagram is either bans you or Instagram could be blocked in some countries, right? It also happens. Or you're on BitChute, you know, which is a freedom-oriented platform, and I think you're quite successful on BitChute. let's say, but BitChute is the BitChute's domain is blocked in many countries. I know there are at least 5 or 6 countries where BitChute.com will not resolve right now. So, but if you go to download the Bastion desktop app, fine, you can use it. The only way Bastion desktop app will be shut down is if the whole internet, like all of the internet, is shut down. And or there's another way, and here we're getting into technicalities, but there is a thing that Chinese government does called deep packet inspection. So what they do is they actually don't just shut down URLs. They actually inspect every packet that goes through the internet. They open it and see what it is, and that way they can be very specific about blocking traffic. So first of all, this system, to the best of my knowledge, is not built anywhere except China. It's a humongous, expensive, massive system that requires opening of packets. However, for Bastion, we are working on an answer to that too. We have a release coming in the spring where we're going to encrypt all of our traffic. So if you're doing deep packet inspection, basically, if the traffic is encrypted, you don't know what it is, right? If you block all of the encrypted traffic, you're going to create a lot of problems in the network. So again, we're kind of in this arms race, and I'm fully behind all of the people that are trying to solve the freedom problem in other ways. Yeah. I'm not saying like these other social networks are crap, like no, but what I'm saying is, being a risk manager and a math geek and an IT professional, I see where this is going. And I've been building this, and I actually am not a coder. I'm more of like a designer. I did the math, and other people are building all the code around the world. But this is gonna get there. Watch, mark my words. Either they have to give up, which is gonna be great. If they give up and there's no need for Bastion, I will rejoice. I will go back to doing my math and doing the other things I do. But I don't think they're gonna give up. I think we're gonna see a point where the domains are blocked.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're coming to that point, which is why it's incredibly important now to hedge ourselves against this coming censorship that we already know is coming down the pike. And I think Bastion is going to be very exciting for both the content creator and the content consumer, because as it is right now, if the website is shut down, as a content creator, I can still log on to the desktop app, upload my topical sensitive content that day, and know that the consumers of said content are still going to be able to access that through some of their node on the network. And not only that, but the content creator and the content consumer can both earn pocket coin. And that's another aspect of this that I think is exciting and needs to be pointed out, is that as a content consumer, you don't have to put in anything, any of your money, in order to start earning pocket coin. You simply have to engage with the platform by commenting, maybe by liking some posts, by watching some of my content. And simply by doing that, you're earning pocket coin for you and for me without a single penny coming out of your own pocket. So correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't
yeah, so there's a correction there. You don't earn for watching. You do earn for commenting and posting. So you have to produce some. So one way or another, you do have to be a producer of content. Obviously, authors like you will make much more, but if you're producing content, you will still make some coin if there's engagement and interest in your content.
Right. So if you're engaging with the platform, posting, commenting, having some sort of engagement, then you're earning pocket coin, right? And
yes, and that's exactly right.
Yeah, and for content creators, that's a game changer moving forward, because this is really over the last few years for a lot of content creators been the way that we've been able to pay the bills, is by having our viewers watch us on these other platforms other than YouTube, where they make all the ad money. And just by simply interacting with us on these other platforms, not only are they earning crypto, but we are in turn as well. So it's really a win-win situation for the consumer and the creator, which is, I think, one of the exciting things about Bastion as well.
Absolutely. And we're not, we want to be idealistic, but we don't want to be naive. And being naive is believing that bloggers will just do this for free and they will, live by eating air and snow. It's not gonna happen. Bloggers need to eat. They need to have equipment. They need to have free time, because I know, like the videos you do, the research that goes in, it could be, for a 1 hour video, you could put in 2 or 3 days of hardcore research. So we're working very hard on that. First of all, as a creator, you're going to make just for creating popular content, but we're constantly adding ways for creators to earn coin. For example, we just added a feature where if a user wants to comment under your video, under your post, and they want to increase visibility of that comment, they can add pocket coin to it. All of it goes to you. This is beautiful because there's no corporate entity. There's no YouTube to take 80% of proceeds to, and then to tell you're demonetized. No,
So it's kind of
it's
like
actually when
so you can
they
tip
attach
people.
a pocket coin to a comment, it goes up higher, and it's featured. Maybe as a blogger, you will answer the comment, and then you encourage people and say, do more of this. So that's another way bloggers are earning already. The third way that we're adding, which is going to come out in the February release, is the decentralized ad marketplace. That's going to be huge because now if you're demonetized from YouTube, you have to sell ads on a kind of ad hoc one-on-one interaction basis. And that's always painful, right? Negotiating and so on. We're creating almost like a type of Google AdWords, but for blockchain, where any advertiser can come in, create an ad, and propose it to Dicks, to InfoWars, and you will review it. First of all, if it's appropriate for your audience, then you're going to repost it. And actually, the smart contract, the way it's written on the crypto, on the blockchain, is that the actual repost of that ad into your channel to your followers at the same time pays you money. So it's absolutely riskless. If you don't repost, the money is not paid. If you do, the money is paid. You don't need to interact with the advertiser. You don't need to negotiate. You simply go in and just say, well, these are appropriate. I'm going to repost, immediately get pocket one.
That's fantastic because that gives the content creator the ability to choose which advertising agencies they're going to work with, the ones they believe in, the ones they think that their audience is going to be interested in, rather than just random ads like what YouTube does. I mean, I used to, back when I was monetized on YouTube, I'd have people commenting on saying, you had a video that was speaking out about the climate change, and then the video started with an ad by Greta Thunberg or something like that. It was just like, what? Like, and that's not.
I've seen that, yeah. I mean,
so
in that case, it's almost laughable, but there are cases where I've watched on YouTube, you'll be watching a video that's very somber. It's like a Christian video, and then there's gonna be something about, very, very serious. And then in the end, it's like, buy this thing, buy the pantyhose or something. It's like, this almost looks like intended. I don't think it's intended. It's just chaos, but it looks pretty bad.
Yeah. So moving forward, I think 2022 is probably going to be a pretty heavy year for censorship. I think they're going to clamp down here in Canada in particular under the Trudeau regime, under certain bills they tried to pass last year. I think they're going to reintroduce these bills this year. So I think censorship is going to be ramping up a lot in 2022. So moving forward, what are some of your hopes that you would like to see Bastion achieve in the coming months and years as we continue to navigate this crazy COVID-19 84 nightmare?
Well, I think it's about education, honestly. It's about educating people about what decentralization means, because there's a lot of naive opinions about that. Like, basically, somebody comes out and says, I'm for freedom, builds a network, and it may be a good person, but people don't understand that you need guarantees. And there's no like a rock solid guarantee in this world, but you need at least, decent guarantees. The problem with all kinds of social platforms is that they have a certain life cycle. In the beginning, they always give. They give you great audiences. They give you money. They give you freedom. And then once they get big enough, they start to take. That's why I'm wondering where Telegram will go, because it's grown. It's like, according to my charts, it's at that stage where it should start taking back. And you can already see that a little bit, but hopefully not. I'd like to be positive about it. So what I'd like Bastion to achieve, other than growth, we're getting a lot of users. I mean, over the past 4 months, we've added 200,000 new users. It may not be big for Facebook, but for an open source platform with no advertising budget, no venture capital money, or anything like that, that's a good trend. So I'd like to see it grow, but I'd also like to see people understand why it's necessary. That a lot of people think about crypto and Bitcoin as just speculation. It's grown in value. Yes, it is, but that is the least important thing. The most important thing is that it gives us a way to interact outside of these vertical structures where people, say that they're good, and they act good for a while, but then they sort of don't be evil, right? And then all of a sudden they're evil. It's better to have a platform that's open source, that can be reviewed, so all of the code can be reviewed, and you can see that Developers cannot ban anybody. It's on the bans. The moderation happens by users. If the platform goes awry, people can fork it. Imagine if you had a BitTube, YouTube that had an open source code. They could never do these things. They could never do the shadow banning. And then if they went awry, somebody just would fork it and create their version that they'll be like the beautiful YouTube without all this garbage. So people need to understand that it is not good enough. You can't rely on words. Not even my words. I'm not asking you to rely on my words. It's about guarantees. And you can't rely on personalities because people, you can't trust. It's not that people are bad. It's just people are, people die. People, things happen. So you need to have guarantees like Bitcoin, right? Why it survived Satoshi Nakamoto and all these things, because it's built in such a way that provides guarantees. It provides monetary proper incentives. That's what we built Bastion. It wasn't like, well, let's build this, anarchist thing. We're not anarchists actually at all. We believe in order, but we believe that the order should be approved and consented to by people who are governed. It cannot just be top-down, arbitrary, shadow banning. So, and crypto and Bitcoin and Bastion and Pocketcoin gives you that because you have, again, no corporation. You have open code that anybody can review, anybody can fork, anybody can spin up a computer and verify what goes on in the network. So all these things are guarantees. They're not 100% guarantees, but in this world, they're probably the closest you're going to get to a hard rock guarantee.
Absolutely. This is next level hedge against censorship. Like you said, a lot of these other platforms have various issues when it comes to centralization. Like if the main leader is taken out by a bus, then what? But with Bastion, that's not so much an issue. This is highly decentralized.
It's not. I mean, in fact, for me, I haven't been actively coding for years. I stepped away from the platform for a couple of years, and it was developing when I returned because I want my kids to live in a world where they can exchange ideas freely, right?
Yeah.
I don't want this thing to go the direction of where we're going to be all on YouTube, and now you go to YouTube, all you get is Fox News, CNN, ABC, whatever.
Yep.
It doesn't look like YouTube anymore, right? So
no, we're seeing
I think that we're getting to a place where we need to get together, and I encourage everybody to join. It takes like 30 seconds. There's no personal info. Nobody can hack and leak your personal info because none required, right?
Yep.
Go ahead and check it out. Use it even if you're not moving away from your favorite platform, whatever it is. You can actually dabble and you can keep it as a secondary choice. If things go awry, all of a sudden you're not going to lose all your connections and your favorite bloggers.
Exactly. It's such a good way to ensure that you're going to continue to be able to consume the content from the content creators that you love, even if they attempt to shut it down. So I really want to encourage people to check it out. Sign up to the platform. I have an affiliate link. I would hope that you would check that out in the description below because that helps me earn a little bit of pocket coin. That helps you eventually start to earn some of this free pocket coin, which you can trade on the open market for Bitcoin or Ethereum or gold or silver, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's traded. I mean, it's traded, and there's peer-to-peer trading now. Hopefully people will start, selling something for it. I mean, that's part of the not relying on a legacy system. And Bitcoin, quite frankly, showed us that way, right? Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever it was, it is an amazing creation that solves some very serious social problems. It's not a panacea. There's no panacea. I mean, people still have to be moral and act good, but Bitcoin gives us the tool that's pretty amazing.
Yes, exactly. And now you've taken that same idea and applied it to Bastion.com moving forward to a social network platform, which I think is a really brilliant move. It's very forward thinking because like, as you said, I think the next stage is to start shutting down those domains. But if these content creators think ahead, to get 2 steps ahead, they'll be on Bastion, and hopefully the content consumers will be 2 steps ahead of this censorship wave as well and join Bastion as well. So any final thoughts on, just this whole world of censorship and the need for a platform like Bastion today?
I want to address particularly content creators. I mean, I think that a lot of them just want to focus on content and just want things to be simple and easy. And that's right. I mean, it's not always easy to change platforms or go to a new platform. But you know what? Simplicity is sometimes a tool of slavery. And I think we built a very intuitive interface, and it's easy to upload for bloggers and to start earning pocket coin. But the main thing is, I go back to what you said, think one step ahead, especially as a content creator. You have to, you can, when you were banned, you were one of the first ones. I don't remember if it was before or after Alex Jones, but you were one of the first ones. Other people should have thought of this. They should have thought of the ways to get ahead of it, but a lot of them didn't. And I know bloggers who lost, 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 people, subscriber channels, and that's it. They lost all contact with these people to never, ever talk to them. So think about it, wherever you are, you might lose your subscribers. So go to Bastion so that at least they might watch you in a couple of places. So if that other, it's like diversification, right?
Yep.
Don't put all your eggs into one basket, because we're going to see some serious censorship. 2022 is going to be it. That's why that's why I went and did this interview. That's why I'm telling people about it. That's why developers are joining the platform, because people are sensing, whoever thinks one step ahead or two steps ahead, they're realizing that this is not going to just, go down easy.
My friends, it's time to diversify your video sharing and consuming platform portfolio, so to speak, moving forward as a hedge against censorship. And once again, Bastion has stood out for me as one of the top leading ones because of the nature of its decentralization. So once again, Daniel, thank you so much for breaking this one down for us today. And I look forward to seeing how this technology is going to continue to develop over 2022. I'm going to continue focusing to use Bastion more, and I want to encourage people to sign up and follow me there. So once again, thank you so much for talking to us, and you keep up the great work, man.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.